Welcome to Reverse Mortgage and Beyond, the podcast where we take you inside the world of reverse mortgages. I'm Cheryl Scheidell, and I have been in the mortgage industry since 2002 and have specialized in reverse mortgages for the past 10 years. We'll cover topics like reverse mortgage basics, purchasing a home, and the myths about reverse. You'll also hear from some trusted referral partners. Let's get started. Hi, welcome back to Reverse Mortgages and Beyond. I'm Cheryl Scheidell with Barrett Financial, and I'm actually your reverse mortgage specialist. I've been in the industry since 2002, working with reverse mortgages for the last 10 years, and I want to be a resource to your community. I do have a show on AM 960, The Patriot, so feel free to go to that to listen to reverse mortgages, reverse basics, how to purchase a home with reverse mortgage, get the myths, the misconceptions, and learn about it. And then contact me when you have questions at 480-817-4324. That's 480-817-4324. We are licensed in all states except for New York. And I'm personally licensed in Oregon, California, Nevada, and Texas. So what we are doing here today is, like I said, I do reverse mortgages, and I want to be a resource to you in our community. So what I've done is I've brought some beautiful young ladies into the house, and we're going to talk about important things that people need to be proactive on. So I want you to think about this so you're not working in chaos and being reactive. I want you to think to be proactive. So my demographics is seniors. So what I've done is I've brought in Jodi Meiter. She's with Ascension Hospice. I've also got Margaret Anderson with, she's a death doula Margaret. And then I have brought back Miss Lydia Wietsma with Lydia Wietsma with NextHome Power Realty.
Yes.
So what we're going to do is get started, and I'm going to have Jodi give us a background about herself, and then we're going to get into some questions.
Absolutely. Thank you. It's Jodi Meiter.
Yes.
Yes, and it's nice to meet you guys. I'm with Ascension Hospice. I've been a chaplain with Ascension for about a year and a half.
Okay.
Yes, and my husband's a senior pastor at a local church, Arizona Community Church. So we've been working with seniors for quite a while in that community.
You said you're a chaplain.
Yeah, I'm a chaplain, and my husband's a minister.
Okay.
So we
Wow.
work together in ministry.
Okay.
But as a chaplain, I'm also doing outreach to many various communities in the east side of the valley.
Okay.
Basically all over this side of the valley.
Okay.
So my husband and I have been married almost 30 years. We've got 3 grown children. Our
Wow.
baby is a senior in college at GCU. So
Okay, good
that's
for you.
us.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll get right into this. So what qualifies a person for hospice?
Well, there's a lot of misconceptions about qualifying for hospice. A lot of people think it's very end of life, like for a few days, and people are on death's door, and they probably have a cancer diagnosis or something like that. What's interesting is many things can qualify someone for a hospice diagnosis, which would be, there could be a heart condition, there could be stuff with kidneys or liver, there could be someone's undergone treatment and they don't want to do it anymore. There could be they're just getting old and they're having a lot of falls and they're ending up going to the ER and having, a broken hip or a broken shoulder, and then they go into rehab and then they go back home and they keep doing this cycle. So there's a lot of things that could qualify someone if it's any documentable decline, like eating less, moving around less, not being able to do the activities of daily life like they were doing before.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you right there. So my dad had to have hospice, and so we actually talked about palliative hospice and then regular hospice.
Yes.
So he had palliative hospice early on, and then we did move into hospice where we were in a facility, and then we did bring him home because I wanted to bring him home because I had this wall of plaques of all his accomplishments, and I wanted that radiating down on him as he transitioned.
Oh.
So that's what we did.
Wonderful.
So it was partly. So with hospice, I'm going to go off script here for
That's
a
okay.
minute. With hospice, you're talking about when to use it. So someone could be on hospice for a month, a day, a week, whatever, or 2 years. Is
Absolutely,
that right? So how does that
depending
work?
on
Yeah.
diagnosis. So if someone qualifies for hospice, they come on, what they're doing is they're using their Medicare benefit.
Okay.
So we have to meet certain qualifications for them to be able to have that eligibility for Medicare.
Okay.
So we will first of all get their medical records and see if what they have going on physically will qualify them.
Okay.
If they're qualified to use that benefit, then what we do is recertify them. About after 3 months, 6 months, we keep checking.
Okay.
How are they doing? Are they improving or are they declining? And we have to show a documentable decline. Like they're eating less, they've lost weight. There's a significant change in their ability to either get up and move or, pain tolerance. All
So
kinds of things could go down.
a misconception could be that people think it's end of life, but it's not end
Absolutely.
of life.
Yes, it's not necessarily end of life. And the funny thing is, as you know, we all are going to get to the end of our life
Right.
at some point, right? Some of us sooner than others. But it's going gracefully, right? And it's enjoying life a little bit more than you would if you're going to the hospital and coming back home and going for
That
treatment.
cycle, yeah.
This vicious cycle. And so what we're here to do is to provide comfort and more quality of life and care for those last weeks, months, or even a couple of years, if that's what it turns out to be.
Now, will they have the same hospice care person coming to them? So that way they
Absolutely,
build
yes.
a relationship with
Absolutely.
them and everything?
They will
Okay.
have the same nurse care provider, that's their case manager, and then
Okay.
there would usually be 1 or 2 nursing assistants, like CNAs, that will come and help with personal care, bathing. There's a
Okay.
social worker assigned to
Okay.
each patient.
So everybody knows what's going on.
Absolutely. And the
Okay.
family members are all looped in. And hospice is not just for the patient, it's also for the family members.
Right. Yeah. I know I got really connected
Mm-hmm.
to my hospice caretaker for my dad, so that was nice. So what makes Ascension Hospice different from other hospice companies? That's a loaded question.
I gotta tell you that definitely I'm partial, but just the team is excellent. I mean, they are amazing. There's a warm and loving and light culture with Ascension Hospice. All of the people want to be there. They love what
I love
they
the
do.
name, by the way.
Thank you, thank you. Ascension was started about 3 years ago by many people that 3 that were in the industry before. Our nursing director, Lori Jennett, was with a different hospice in the Valley for over 10 years.
Okay.
And she came alongside 2 others. David Garcia is our administrator. He's a longtime fireman, and
Oh,
he's
wow.
still with the Chandler Fire Department.
Okay.
And so he kind of he's got his feet on the ground in both worlds, and he really is able to see what people need out
That's
there.
awesome.
So with all of their experience, they put together a really beautiful team, and we work very well together, and I think that's what makes us stand out. And what's also unique about our company is that we're small, and so we are able to have a less caseload for each nurse. So many bigger hospices have, 20, 22 patients on their
Oh, wow.
load for the week.
Oh, wow.
And we try to keep ours to 12 or 14.
Wow.
And so our nurses can go and spend a lot more time with each patient.
It's 24 hours,
It is.
right?
So our nurses have, a regular day shift, and then we have night nurses and weekend nurses that are triage.
Okay.
So it's not always the same person if it's after hours, but there's always, we're a 20-minute phone call away.
Okay, that's good to
Yeah,
know.
absolutely.
So if someone needs to help a loved one tomorrow, what are the next steps they need to take?
Well, I think they should call me, Jodi Meiter at Ascension Hospice.
Okay, well, that's what we're here for.
Yeah, the phone number is 602-325-6630. That's our main office, and ascensionhospice.com.
Okay, wonderful.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So what we're going to do is I'm going to also talk with Margaret and Lydia, and then we're going to come back around, and that way if there's something else you want to just talk about right at the end before we
Perfect.
wrap up, think about
Thank
that.
you, Cheryl.
So I'm going to move on next to Miss Margaret Anderson, who's our death doula today. And, she's been a longtime friend of mine. She went to my dad's celebration of life. I had 2 of them for my dad. One while he was still here with us, and then one after he passed. And so I'm getting the chills just thinking about it. That means he's here, I believe, right? And so, but she's helped me, just different thoughts I've had and just not having regrets, and that I've done all the things that I need to do just so that way. I have to say, once he passed, I'm really getting the chills. Once he passed, I had no regrets. I just had worked through it while he was here. Proactive again, everyone. While he was here, I was still, going through all that. So there's so many of us adult children caring for elderly parents now and dealing with family dynamics and legal issues, medical questions, et cetera, in this situation. So this population is growing. We've heard of the silver tsunami, right? So Margaret, let me ask you, just for clarification, I'm going to ask it a different way. What is a death doula, and how is that different from grieving groups that are out there?
Absolutely.
Can you explain the difference for us?
Yes. So a death doula.
Wait, give us your background a little bit first.
So my name is Margaret. I am actually a mom of 3 children. My oldest son passed away 20 years ago, and I became almost a default for people who knew moms who had lost children. They would ask me, can you meet up with my friend, help her out? Because I'd been through this journey of child loss.
Yeah.
And it's really devastating. It's probably one of the hardest things to go through as a parent. So I had been doing this grief work for many, many years. And my job was actually, I had been an air medical flight coordinator.
Amazing.
Yes. So air medical flight coordinator is moving patients from point A to point B, sometimes in urgent situations, in critical situations, sometimes end of life. So I had been working with families for years, helping them navigate what that looks like. Not just families, maybe a husband and wife, but also the grown children, the siblings, when sibling dynamics is involved.
Yes.
It's a very interesting thing, grown children. And so I would help them navigate what that would look like with a medical team, with a hospital, with a hospice. When I would do these flights, I would set up hospice nurses on the other end sometimes and, transfer care and that kind of thing. So I'd been doing it for a long time. And then I decided to kind of make it official and became a death doula. And I'm also a certified grief educator. So it all plays a part in helping people, educating them on dying, death, and grieving. And I always tell my clients, what I want to do is provide the best death possible. I call it the good death for not just the client, but also the children they're leaving behind. Have you said everything you want to say? Have you done everything you want to do? What is this going to look like after your mom or dad passes? Are you going to have regrets or anger or still be fighting with your, sister because she had power of attorney and wants to sell the house and that's your area? and get in all that mess that keeps us from being able to focus on the person who's transitioning and making that experience just about you and the person that's transitioning. So there's education involved, there's emotional support, there's certainly advocacy because I was in the medical field for so long. If client needs some kind of advocacy with their medical team, I can step in there, or with the legal team.
And that's so important to have someone advocating for you.
Yes.
Because
yes.
I had to advocate for my dad when he was in the hospice facility.
Yes.
And there were a couple of times the doctor's like, nope, we're happy to have you here advocating. And I'm like, okay, good.
Right.
So that's good.
Right,
Okay.
a voice. And that's me sitting down with, if possible, the client and asking them, what do you want this to look like? Me making phone calls, me making sure things are squared away. And the death doula is part of the medical team, but they're not medical. They can't provide medical assistance, medications, anything like that, but they can advocate. Same with legal. We're not legal personnel, but we can advocate for whatever they need. I'm a notary public, so it's that kind of stuff, whatever little things they need.
Yeah, because they might bring up something, you're like, okay, I can be a resource for you.
Right.
And this is what you need to do, and don't forget to do this.
And don't forget to do this. So I have a lot of resources in my back pocket if someone needs some kind of specialized whatever it is.
Even helping them when the person does transition, helping them with celebration of life
Yes,
services.
I do
and that
those
kind of
too.
stuff.
I have a background in event management, so I've done a couple of celebrations of life. But we also do things like legacy projects while the person is still alive, whether it's recording messages for grandchildren or children, or making some kind of a project that the children, grown children, would be able to hang on to. So much of it is one-on-one, really getting in touch with the client and their family and understanding their dynamics.
Nice. Is there any stories you want to share specifically? And then we have to move on to
Yeah,
Lydia.
so I have a client right now that I'm working with. It's there's 3 grown daughters, and they're caring for their dad. Their mom has already passed, and and they're actually each taking turns taking care of him. So the one who's taking care of him right now has asked me, "How can I help my dad feel better about transitioning?"
That's good that he's asking.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, he has had what we call near-death awareness. He has reached out to family members. You know, this happens at the end of life. And she says, at one point, he said, "I don't think I'm going to get into heaven." And she's like, "Of course he is." So I said, "Let's get a priest over. Let's let him get his confession. Why don't you start praying before dinner at night?" And I work with all faiths.
That's what I wanted to ask. So
Yes.
people need to understand that it doesn't have to be, different faiths, different religions, whatever. It doesn't matter.
Right. So in my mind, if he could get back in touch with his faith, because he's 90 years old, he's Irish Catholic, I'm sorry, Italian Catholic. So his Catholicism is real strong. Let's get a priest over. Let's start praying. And then I even said, let's do the rosary. So every night she's doing the rosary with him, and she can see him moving the beads. And it makes him feel more confident that
And calm and at peace. And
yeah,
everything.
and getting rid of the fear of death, because we don't talk about death in this country. We're so grief illiterate that we don't talk about grief. So after the person has passed, then I work with the family on grief education and helping them on that end as well.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, how can people reach you?
They can go to deathdoulamargaret.com. That's my website. And I do other things as well, but they can find it on my website. This, by the way, is not covered by insurance.
Okay.
It's support of hospice. It's very one-on-one, but it's not covered by
So it's
insurance.
self-pay.
Self-pay,
Okay.
yes.
Okay. Well, I'm going to move on to Lydia, and then we'll come back around for a quick follow-up. So Miss Lydia Wietsma from NextHome Power Realty has joined me again, and I'm bringing her in to talk about real estate and probate. And go ahead and do your, I want to have people, if they're just catching us for the first time, make sure you introduce yourself.
So I'm Lydia Wietsma. I'm a certified senior and probate real estate specialist. I'm also the co-owner of NextHome Power Realty. I have a business partner, Raquel Ugiano, and she's our broker. And my main focus has been seniors and probate work. And so I work a lot with probate courts. I work with senior adult children when their families are either moving out of their home into independent assisted memory care, or if they are going through that probate process and they've lost a loved one and they've inherited a property. So
That's a lot.
it is a lot.
That's amazing. And so just a little background. So I've been doing mortgages since 2002, 10 years reverse mortgages. I've actually had Lydia in my phone for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then I saw her speak, and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have to reconnect. And so she's a certified real estate agent, and so senior certified. And so I'm like, oh my gosh, we need to have you come in and talk about probate. And so can you explain what probate is and why real estate is often involved?
Yes. So probate basically is when somebody has passed away and they have assets. It can be property, it can be bank accounts, it can be life insurance policies, stocks, any asset. And if you don't have your assets in a trust
Okay.
or due on death clause, then it has to go through the probate process. And that is where someone goes to the probate courts and the judge has to make a decision on who the heirs are and how much those people are going to get. So you're basically, if you don't get it prepared ahead of time, you're basically going off of somebody else telling you what you're going to get, and it may not be what your parents really wanted for you.
Right.
And a lot of people end up in probate by mistake. Either they had a will, which is just the written instructions. It's not a trust. You still will go through probate if you just have a will. But what happens is the will is the written instructions within a trust. So if you at least have a will, the judge can at least figure out who you really wanted your items to go to. But it still has to go through probate.
I'm going to stop you there.
Yep.
I'm going to bring on someone who talks about wills and trusts, either elder law attorney or someone who handles all that, because that is so important. Because as reverse mortgages, you can close in your own name, but you can also close in the name of a trust.
Absolutely.
And so this is what Lydia is talking about. So pay attention to this.
Yes.
That a will is written instructions, but trust will keep you out of probate.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. And if you don't have a trust, you can put all your accounts in a due on death clause.
Right.
But you have to make sure if that's the way you're going to go, you have to put everything in it. I've had clients go through probate for $1,200 in a bank account because
my
they
gosh.
forgot to put a due on death clause.
So that takes everything into probate?
It just takes that one account
Okay.
into probate.
Okay.
Well, he only had the one account. They had gotten rid of the house before, and
so if they had the house, but then they didn't have the bank account,
Yep.
would only just the bank account go into probate, or is it the
Typically,
house?
yes.
And
Yeah,
the,
if they had a trust and they've missed some of the things within the trust, it will go through probate. Or the items that are not in the trust will go through probate.
Good,
Yep.
good. Okay, okay. So what challenges do families face when dealing with inherited property?
That's a loaded question. It's very dynamic.
And we don't have a lot of time, so, yeah.
I'll just say this. I do a lot of education, a lot of speaking, and I always get somebody in the front row that says, I'm just going to let my kids take care of it. And the problem with that is they've just allowed their kids to go like this.
Yes.
Because one may say, Mom wanted this, and one may say, no, Mom told me she wanted this. And, as a mom of 3 kids, you say things to your kids throughout your lifetime, right? But those adult children remember the one thing that Mom said, and it can cause a lot of grief for the families. And the problem also with probate, I will explain this, is that your grief counselor, when you have someone that has passed away, you're grieving, and if you are having to make these major decisions for your families or your adult children or for the siblings that you're with or whoever it is, this is not the time to be making those major decisions.
That's why it's better to be proactive,
Yes.
which is what we're talking about
Yep.
here. Be proactive.
Yes.
Okay,
Yep.
so, we'll do one more question.
Okay.
What should families do before a loved one passes to make the process easier?
So
Kind of like what we're talking here.
Yeah. So I get a lot of calls from hospice companies that say, "Do you have an attorney? We need to get this trust or a due on death clause put together, a beneficiary deed," and that's not the time to be doing it. You should be doing it prior to that happening. But if it's best to do it as you acquire items. So for instance, my oldest daughter's a trauma nurse. She bought her first house when she was 20 years old.
Nice.
And it really does help. As soon as you buy a house, if you don't have a trust put together, that's the time to put a trust together. However, I will say this. As children, when they turn 18 and you send them off to college, most people don't think, oh, my 18-year-old needs a trust put in place. We had all of our kids put a trust in place for many reasons, but mainly for this reason. When your child goes off to college, say they're in a car accident and, God forbid, they're in a coma, and now they're on life support. So you've got dad that says, my son, I would never want my son to be put on life support. We're going to pull the plug. And mom says, no, I can't let him go. So now you've got 2 parents that can't make that decision. And in Arizona, we are one of the few states that has mental power of attorney,
Yes.
which that correlates to anything that's incapacitated. So as children, as you get older and you're in college or in your 20s, the minimal thing you should get is at least your powers of attorney put in place so that what you want to do with if you're put on life support. What would you want? And it's a good conversation for parents to have, especially now that we're going into, holiday times. It's really good to have those conversations as, what if something were to happen?
Well, I said that to my mom. I said, Mom, if I don't come back in 30 days, let me go.
Yeah.
I got a 30-day limit on mine. I'm like, if I'm in a coma for 30 days, then it's okay.
Yeah.
And so we had that drawn up.
Yeah,
so.
and it's a harsh thing to talk about, but
Proactive.
It is proactive. It helps you go through the grieving process easier if you already know what your loved ones want to do. And my daughter, who's a nurse, when we sat down with the attorney, they will specifically ask you, do you want to be on a feeding tube? Do you want to be intubated? Do you want, and we as common people don't know what that is, but they will explain to you, what does that mean? And when my daughter sat down, she's like, yes, no, no, yes, because she knows what those things are. And I'm like, I looked at her and I go, should I redo mine? And she goes, yes, Mom, you probably do. Although she is our medical power of attorney, so I will be in good hands with that.
Good. Okay, so Lydia also has a radio show, and she's on AM 960 The Patriot on Sundays right before me at 3 p.m. So she's on at 3 p.m. I'm at 3:30. You get a whole hour of us every Sunday here in Arizona. And then you can live stream us on 960thepatriot.com, and you just go to the podcast. Yep. So how do we get a hold of you? And then you can come back and talk about this when we just do a loop. But what's your contact?
So the best way to reach me is cell phone is 602-363-1720, or you can email me at lydia@arizonapoweragent.com.
Okay, wonderful. Now, anything else you want to add really quickly, because we have to wrap up?
Sure. If you want to email me, it's jmeiter@ascensionhospice.com. And a quick phone number for me is 480-560-2295.
Okay, any other thing you want to add about hospice while we've been sitting here talking?
Think about Ascension and give us a call, even if you have any questions. If you don't think anyone's ready yet in your family, but you just want to ask some questions and understand it to get ready, or you want any kind of resources related to that process of end of life, and you need like care at home, that kind of thing, reach out to me. We have those resources.
Good.
Thanks.
Yes, be proactive.
Absolutely.
Yes, and get assessed.
Get assessed.
Okay, Miss Margaret.
I think I'll share my phone number, 480-848-1534. Again, it's deathdouulamargaret.com. One last thing I wanted to say is, because Death Doula has been around for a long, long time, it's just kind of coming back into play now. And I think because there's been so much cuts in funding for care like hospice and that kind of thing, I think people are looking for alternatives to support. So Death Doula has been around for a long time. But if you ever have any questions, I do a free consult so we can talk about what's going on with your family and see if I also have a male doula that I trust very well, whether you want me or him to take care of your family member. But we can do that over the phone and decide if it's something for you.
And we're not going to talk about it here, but she also helps for job loss, pet loss. And so she can help if you're stuck in those areas.
It is a grief.
Any type of grief. So
yes, it's death and non-death loss. I do grief coaching for that.
Okay, perfect. Yes. And then one more thing.
And I actually wrote a book last year called Solving Life's Next Chapter. This is what my radio show is called, Solving Life's Next Chapter, on KKNT 960 The Patriot. And like Cheryl said, I'm on right before her show.
Yeah, 3 o'clock, yes. So I'm Cheryl Scheidell. Thank you so much for joining us today on Reverse Mortgages and Beyond. Check us out in a couple of weeks. We'll have another podcast for you. Thanks so much for joining. And I can be reached at 480-817-4324. Thank you. Again, this is Cheryl Scheidell, NMLS number 886425 with Barrett Financial, an equal housing lender. Please remember that loan programs, rates, and eligibility guidelines are subject to change and may vary based on individual circumstances. Nothing discussed in this episode constitute a loan offer or credit decision. Any examples or scenarios shared are strictly for illustrative purposes. All loans are subject to credit approval and underwriting conditions.